Hello, human peoples. You're listening to the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. To support us and gain access to great exclusive podcasts like Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and our latest show, Spiel Boys, head over to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We do game streaming, movie nights with our patrons every Friday night, and you can even commission your own podcast about anything you want. Literally anything, within reason, and we have to do it. You are quite frankly out of excuses not to go visit patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
Hypecast mit Tom Reimann und David Bell.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
We're on another episode of Hypecast!
Hypecast.
It's the show where we get hyped about stuff and things. I'm your co-host, Tom Ryman.
I'm your other host, David. Co-host? Did I? What?
You said it.
Doesn't matter. I'm David Bell.
Yeah.
That's my
You're
name.
both co-hosts. There's not a host and a co-host. You're equal co-hosts.
We're equal.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Together we make a host.
Together, yeah, we combine to form a single host. We're like a BFF locket.
Yeah. And who's that?
Oh yeah. Once
Who's
again,
here?
I've started talking without introducing myself. I am guest Jason Pargin. I am not on the same tier. I am distinctly below the co-hosts. Just so you're aware of the hierarchy.
That's fair. I mean, I would like to think of it as like me and Tom, when you get the action figure and it like the pieces come together to make the big guy, and then you put like a gun in the hand. Like I think you're that. You know what I mean?
Yes, your little brother's going to swallow it a few weeks from now after you get it, or your cat.
I'm gonna choke your little brother. You heard it here, folks.
Oh man, Jason, thank you so much for being on. How are you doing? How are things? What do you got going on?
Doing fine. I have the normal things going on. If people don't follow me elsewhere, I'm Jason K. Pargin on TikTok primarily. That's not a joke for those of you who have not listened to recent episodes with me on it. I have 130,000 followers over there now.
It's amazing.
On there and the book that comes out this fall is Zoe is Too Drunk for This Dystopia. Another in the series of Zoe Ash sci-fi novels. That's coming in October, and I will be promoting it for 8 straight months. Because that's how it works. You sell 12 books every time you go on somewhere. But cumulatively, it builds up. And we have actually, I've been on this show before when we had some truly garbage trailers. That is not the case today. There's some big time, big budget summer and fall stuff on here. This is actually a good, exciting list of trailers. Not like those other times I was on when we were just depressed the whole time. Like
100%.
the pandemic and there was nothing coming out.
Oh God, yeah.
Just
There's
90
also just
minutes
off
of
weeks.
sad guys.
There's just common off weeks too. Like Fast X is coming out this weekend, which explains why these trailers exist. Like it reminds me when I work at a movie theater. That's how the cycle worked. Obviously, is when the big movie came out, so did the trailers. But then when we do a week where there's just like nothing coming out, it can be real bleak sometimes.
Yeah.
Also, significantly, we are right at the pivot where Hollywood has collectively decided just in the last few months that they are going back to theatrical only releases. Because there was definitely a period during the pandemic when there were many think pieces written saying, well, that's pretty much over. Now it's going to be normal for a movie to come out at home at the theater at the same time. And after maybe 2 years of that, Hollywood looked at the returns and said, oh, no, that's a disaster. People are not going to leave their homes unless they have to. We must force them to leave their homes to go see John Wick. And it was probably The Matrix 4, I would guess, that made them say, oh, this is death. We spent
Right,
money on
because
this movie, and people just stayed home and watched it on HBO at their leisure, and it did nothing at the box office. And that's, I
it's
think,
wild. Oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say it's wild that they even considered that. Where they're like, hey, you know how streaming killed rentals? What if we killed theatrical releases too?
I mean,
Like-
it seemed possible for a time because that would just leave the studios as the producers and the distributors. But I think as Jason was saying, they looked at 2 years of returns and realized you can't make $1 billion on a movie by releasing it on streaming.
Yeah. Also, people like the theater. Every time I go see a movie, people are into it. You know, it's a weirdly a crowd activity for a lot of people.
I don't understand why we keep forgetting this. Film has been around for 100 years, and for people who don't realize, when television came along, many people predicted that was the end of the theater. When VHS, home video, came along, many people predicted that was the end of the theater. When big screen HD TVs and home theater technology came along, they could give you just as good of a fidelity, everything else, DVDs. People predicted this is the end of the theater, and they keep being wrong because there is a ritual to it. The public sitting in a crowd with your popcorn, watching the trailers with the lights, it is a feeling about it that cannot be replaced. It's the same reason why fancy restaurants will always have waiters and waitresses and will never have like a kiosk or a robot. Having a person come to your table is part of the thing. It is a ritual. It's a public
I'm
thing.
going to remember
we go out and
that
do.
when Olive Garden starts putting bow ties on robots and have them bring you breast. I totally agree with what you're saying. Yes.
Yeah, I would not go to a robotic Olive Garden, but it would be a niche thing. I completely agree. It really comes down to, despite what the internet might make you think, people like other people in general, right? Like that's just what it is.
I have like a more cynical version of it, and I think we probably talked about this in the 1,000 different episodes of this we did with Jason when we were talking about the state of movies in the pandemic. But we all grew up conditioned that like a movie goes to the theaters when it's good, it goes straight to video when it's crap. So there's putting movies directly on streaming, I think is brushing right up against that thing that's been ingrained in us since we've been old enough to be aware of entertainment media. So I think there was a big element of creating. Each release seemed less important and less significant, so there's less of an urgency. It creates less of a feeling of urgency for people to watch it. So I suspect, even by like dumping the Matrix 4 directly on streaming, there are probably some people who may have gone to see it in the theater if it came out, but because it was on streaming, it felt less crucial. And you just, I'll put it on my list and I'll get to it when I get to it, and then they just never watched it. I bet that happened a lot.
Oh, for sure. Also, I think movies are better in crowds. Like, I saw the new Scream, which we talked about, wasn't that great. In a theater with teenagers, like, hollering and stuff, it just felt like a better movie.
It can keep you from getting inside your own head, which, for me, for sure, affects my enjoyment of a movie if I'm, like, thinking too hard about it, or I don't know. But you're right. There's something to going out in a crowd of people and seeing a movie. It's fun.
I watched The Matrix 4 with it on in the background while I was working on my computer and editing a document. Okay, that's the difference. But also, we've talked about this before. I'm not to rehash the conversation, but when you would go to Disney Plus or to Amazon Prime, and it's just got a row of icons, and it's like, okay, here's the new whatever movie. Here's The Matrix 4, whatever. Right next to a direct-to-VOD Bruce Willis movie, right next to another movie from 23 years ago that they, for some reason, have put in their new releases because it came to streaming for the first time. So it's like it's just all in a stream of stuff, and it's like, it doesn't feel special. It doesn't have the feeling of it's almost, I would call it a religious experience, but there are many things we do in groups. You watch people at a concert, it's the same thing. You watch people going to church, just being in a group of people all experiencing the same thing. There's no substitution for it.
Yeah, you hit it earlier. It's the ritual of it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, heartbreak feels good in a place
like this. Yeah,
I'm seeing. This is a good time to mention. I'm seeing Fast X this weekend in 4DX.
Ooh,
Regal's 4DX. They're gonna spray years old water in my face.
They're gonna spray moldy water in your face and punch you in the ribs with a seat piston.
I'm excited.
Hell yeah.
The way movies are meant to be seen.
Exactly. We saw The Equalizer like that. It's the most baffling experience in my life.
Yeah.
Should we name some producers?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess we should start the show with some producers. Big thank you to the lubed up ghost of Dave Thomas.
Sure.
Always a pleasure. Thank you to @NerdNumbers.
Thank you.
Thank you to Zero Charisma.
Thank you.
Thank you to Aaron Burser.
Thank you so much.
Thank you to AJ.
Thank you.
Thank you to Andrew Howe. Deck the halls with blood.
Thank you.
Thank you to Asking Seven.
Thank you so much.
Thank you to Barry Two Math wants you to go to the gym and drink water. Oh, and Ska's Life. Love y'all.
Pick it up. Pick it up.
Thank you. Thank you to Bob Grenville.
Thank you. All right, let me jump in here. Thank you to Bootler Bootlison. Thank you to Brian, who Tom knows. Thank you to Brockway Loves the Meat Millie. Thank you to Chester's Prophet. Thank you to Christopher Robert Sparts, Esquire. Thank you to Dan Hackroyd. Thank you to Davey, the ghost of East Las Vegas, Francis.
Thank you.
And thank you to David Knife Boot Henson.
Knife Boot.
Knife.
Thank you.
Inside within the boot. Okay.
Yep. Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning, Part 1. Big title.
There's a part of this trailer where Tom Cruise looks at the camera and he said, what does he say? He says, he says something like, "My life is nothing compared to how important your life is," or something. And it felt like he was talking directly to us because, like, the very next thing that happens is he rides a motorcycle off a cliff.
He's like, "I'm getting out of here.
I will die making these movies for you," he seemed to say.
Yeah, pretty much.
This movie looks awesome. It looks awesome.
It is hard to overstate how smart of a business person Tom Cruise is.
He's a very good producer, yeah.
In this era, when he somehow knows the number one complaint about films, about how they look, about how special effects look these days, everything about the economics of these films, that somehow you're getting effects that are measurably worse than they were 15 years ago. Like, they look worse because they're doing the way they do them and the way that the deadlines and the number of effects shots they wanted, every shot to have CG in it, to openly promote, not just doing the stunts practically and putting his own life at risk, but making that the center of the promotion on social media and doing these little clips while they're filming and these little stunt things and these little funny bits where he's in a biplane and riding on the wing and it's like, Mission Impossible coming next year. That is so smart because he knows there is nobody else out there doing it that way. And then the trailer, it is absolutely cut and shot and edited around, hey, this actor almost died to make this movie. The least you can do is buy a ticket.
Yeah.
$15. Can you spare it?
We're not asking for much.
You're right. He's in such a unique position. Like, I don't think there's been anybody else like that apart from Jackie Chan. That's the only other person I can think of.
Right.
That's like sort of this is their brand. Is like, I'm going to do this crazy ass shit.
Was Jackie Chan still doing it at age? Is Tom Cruise 60? How old is he now?
He's got to be pushing, if not already 60. Yeah. I'll look it up.
I mean, he's got that sweet, like, Scientology rejuvenation, but he's got to be.
Alien
he
blood.
Really is. I think I've said it before
he
about
is 60.
him as a producer.
He is 60.
Like, he literally, when that Oprah interview happened, that's why Jeremy Renner was brought into the Mission Impossibles, and that was in part Tom Cruise's decision. So, like, I always found that impressive that Tom Cruise as a producer was like, Tom Cruise the actor is not doing so great, so as a producer, I'm going to bring in this new guy to potentially replace me, Tom Cruise, the actor. And so, yeah, he really has a business brain with this stuff. And he's always thinking about that. And it is pretty impressive to watch, which, of course, there's also Macquarie is directing the shit out of these.
Yeah.
So that's a big part of this as well. these are just I'm a big fan of these series.
Me too, and it's just. I know we've talked about it before, but what Jason's written in the notes, I love all of these movies. I don't retain a single piece of information from any of them.
Right.
Like, I don't know the name of his love interest. I don't know the name of Simon Pegg's character or any of the other. Like, I know he's Ethan Hunt. I don't know the names of any of these other people. Like, I will watch this. Every scene will look great. Every stunt will look great. There will not be a single bad edit in this film. I will be delighted the whole time I'm watching it. I could not tell you what happened in the last movie or who his nemesis is or who the evil organization is. This trailer seems to have some hints of like the later James Bond movies where it's like your past sins are coming back to haunt you. Like they're going to go back and reach back in the series and grab some of those characters. And boy, I hope they are not assuming that I remembered any of that stuff because I did not.
Well, if they go back to the first one, the villain is John Voight. Mm-hmm. So would be.
He came down with a pretty intense case of smushed by helicopter in that movie. So I don't think we'll see him again.
I don't know. I want them to do like a robot, or like a computer with his voice or something.
Fast and Furious it and bring him back. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, fuck it. Yeah, on that subject, my note is just remembering that these started as like I love them all. But they started as like quaint, like a De Palma spy film. It was still action for sure. And of course it's based off the show. But at this point, there's so many different villains and disasters that this is just a world in chaos. And I can't help but to think that it's a world where the government is actually worse than ours because all this stuff keeps happening, right? Like whatever their tactics are here, they're not working. They're absolutely not working. Like this one looks like there's going to be some sort of like gas, which I'm pretty sure that's not the first time someone tried to get. Like, isn't it Mission Impossible 2? There's a gas.
I think so. I mean, who can say? But
it's just like get your world under control.
You're right. It is kind of funny that like
AI fakery subplot. It seems like something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe. I mean, yeah. I don't know. I do. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, they hinted at like now no one will know the truth from lies or something like that, and then it had some ominous shots of large computers doing things. So
it would be really funny if it was about like deep fakes in a world where they can wear masks.
Right, where they have deep fake masks in the Mission Impossible universe. So
yeah, that's already been a problem, I would argue.
It is
this universe.
You're right. It is kind of funny that like IMF is like a zookeeper that doesn't lock any of the cages, and they're like, shit, the gorillas are out. Like it's like just running back and forth each movie with a new cataclysmic event they have to prevent.
Yeah,
it's like, I don't think you guys are very good at your job.
Just the aforementioned masks. Can you imagine a world where anybody you're talking to might not be them, and you have to like I would be so paranoid all the time. I would be pulling on everybody's face a little bit, just checking.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a terrifying world.
Let me tug on your ear a little bit just to make sure.
Yeah. Because those masks are like a dime a dozen. Everybody has the masks by like the last couple ones. They're just throwing those things on. They're like whipping them up in a suitcase in a hotel room.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like. It's only a matter of time before everybody gets a mask.
First time you had like a long conversation or work day with somebody and then they ripped their face off and revealed themselves to be someone else entirely, you would never be normal again after that.
Right.
No.
Like you would never recover fully from that experience. That would be, you would have nightmares about it.
Yeah. That would be like seeing teeth at the edge of the universe. Like you would just be like, nothing I thought I understood is real. So,
right. So I guess I'm going to go live in a cabin now.
Yeah, I guess I'm done.
Yeah. But, this looks great.
It really does. A fucking train flies off a cliff, man.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So this sat on the shelf for how long? A few years,
At least a year. Maybe
he did
more.
it like Top Gun, right? And it seems like he was very correct to wait.
Well, I think they were filming this during the pandemic, weren't they?
Yeah, they had to shut down production multiple times because there was that viral rant where he was screaming because a crew member had gotten lax with their mask, and he was trying to explain that, if this gets shut down, like this screws the entire industry because, again, Tom Cruise understanding the business better than probably anyone on earth,
Right.
and berating the crew. And he was being very abusive about it, but it's like he was trying to say this is not just about this production. This is the entire industry. You can't get insurers to insure a film set. If we have an outbreak on this set, we're screwed until God knows when, the pandemic goes away. So I remember then, I thought that was early in the pandemic. I thought that this had been in the works for like 4 years or something, because if it's not coming out until this fall, what's our release date on this?
I
thought it was summer, but maybe it is fall.
Yeah, I feel like it was summer, but
I gotta pull it up
Was
now.
it that soon? I thought it was went to release, but okay.
It might be July 12th. It comes out July.
Oh gosh,
Woo.
right around the corner. All right.
Yeah, no, I think you're right though. I feel like that was like 2020 when that happened. So I feel like it was either 2020 or 2021. So yeah, this has been in the works for a minute.
It all makes sense because Tom Cruise, he very much, at least recently, he's not making Jerry Maguire. He's not making Magnolia. He's making movies that are meant to be seen in theaters. Like, he knows that. These are big stunt movies. That's the whole point. And so, like, it makes sense why he's just like, no, we're going to wait until everybody can go see it.
Mm-hmm.
It
became a joke with us on this podcast how many times they kept pushing back Top Gun, and then of course Top Gun came out and was a huge success, one of the biggest movies of the year, and it was like nominated for awards and shit. So I guess he was right.
While the studio executives were saying, "Nah, just put it on streaming. Put it on streaming. That's the future." Tom Cruise said, "No, you won't make your money that way. Hold it until everyone can go to a theater." Dead right. He was dead right. It made 5 times what it would have made. I mean, it brought back theatrical. I know that we're singing a lot of praises of Tom Cruise. We are very much aware of the Scientology stuff. When I say that he is a keen businessman, please understand, as an artist, that is not 100% a compliment.
Right.
It would actually be better if he was doing some smaller movies in between, but he has decided, no, I am in the Mission Impossible, Jack Reacher, like I'm in Top Gun. I am in the big franchise, movie star, multi-billion-dollar franchise business. That's how I'm going to spend the rest of my life. That's a decision he made. That's neither good or bad. I'm just saying there factually is. He understood the business better than any of these studio heads. Like, he went against the grain and he was right. Like, the entire industry pivoted based on him being right.
Yeah. No, 100%.
I'm just trying to think of the other pandemic movie we got, which was Jurassic World 3.
Did they put that in theaters?
They sure did, Dave. But it was filming at the same time as Mission Impossible.
Oh, okay.
Very early in the pandemic, Tenet came out.
Tom Cruise went to see it in theaters.
Tom Cruise, and was
he posted that video,
But.
And he said, I remember at one point he's like, "Hey, people recognize me with a mask on." It's like, yes, you're one of the most famous people on the planet. Yeah, of course they recognize you.
I wish it ended with him going, "I don't know what the fuck that movie was about."
He just hated it.
Yeah, it's like, wow.
He's sitting there at the end of it. He's like, man, I kind of feel like it was too long.
Yeah.
This is really a testimony on how movies need to make sense, as I've always said. But, not how I would have done it. But that's why none of you are Tom Cruise, and I am.
Yeah. Good try. Good try.
What a ride.
All right. Next trailer.
Oh, man, yeah.
Haunted Mansion. It's just Haunted Mansion, not The Haunted Mansion.
Not The Haunted Mansion. Apparently, it's just Haunted Mansion.
The Haunted Mansion is the Eddie Murphy one, I assume.
Mm-hmm.
This is the new attempt at a Haunted Mansion movie, which I do get only in that. I don't know if you guys know much about the ride. The ride has a weird amount of lore.
It has a lot of lore, yeah.
Yeah, more than like the Pirates of the Caribbean, and that, of course, spawned a huge franchise. Like, I think what happened is Pirates of the Caribbean happened, right?
Well,
and I think we just liked pirates movies, but the lesson Disney learned is like, oh, we can adapt our rides.
Well,
and they've been trying to get that high ever since.
if you remember, both The Haunted Mansion and Pirates of the Caribbean came out the same year. It was both 2003. Right. So it was part of a different... They were both part of the same idea, but I think the idea was, let's see if we can make our rides into movies, like our classic rides.
Right, and I think the answer is still no, you can't. People just like a good pirate movie. Like that was all, like it was a stunt adventure film, Pirates, like it was just a fun, everybody liked it.
But it was adapting, like I don't know if you remember how much of the Pirates of the Caribbean ride you remember, but it really does kind of adapt every scene of the ride and incorporate. So it's like,
for sure.
Maybe,
I'm saying that's
yeah.
I'm saying that's not why it succeeded.
Right,
in
like
my mind.
every other, like how many other Mission to Mars is another one where it's like, oof, maybe you shouldn't have tried that one. Like I heard they were going to try to make a Space Mountain movie for a while, but like,
yeah,
what would that have been? There's just no lore for Space Mountain.
Right. I mean, they could make. I hear they're making a Tower of Terror movie.
Sure.
And it's like that could be good. These can be good.
There was already
I don't think they can automatically.
Dave, there was already a made-for-TV Tower of Terror movie that came out to launch the ride. It starred Steve Guttenberg.
Ooh.
So this is a remake of that movie.
I feel like there's some revisionist history going on. When Pirates of the Caribbean was on its way, I cannot overstate how much people thought that was the worst idea.
They thought it was going to bomb.
Because pirate movies always bombed, and then it's like, it's based on the Disney ride that has no story or lore. Like, whose idea is this? It became a monster hit because of Johnny Depp. Put on a performance,
for sure.
and everybody loved Captain Jack Sparrow, and that is the element that is hard to capture. That is the magic that whatever kind of a weirdo he is in his personal life, and it ranges from either weirdo to monster, depending on which accounts you believe. But there is no question that his portrayal of Jack Sparrow, like that was the spark that made that something beyond just, we've thrown $200 million at a Disney ride adventure movie.
Right.
Because other such projects failed badly. Now here, this movie, this trailer is a perfect example of what we were talking about earlier. Because if you told me this is a theatrical exclusive, I would say, okay. If you said, no, this is a crappy direct to Disney Plus thing they pooped out for $20 million, I would believe that too. To me, this looks very cheap and very made for Disney Plus for kids to me.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're definitely, I think they're unclear on their audience a little bit. I don't know. I mean, yeah, it should be for kids, right?
I mean,
but it does feel like it's trying to appeal, because the Haunted Mansion's been around for a very long time, and there are a lot of adult Disney nerds,
Of course, yeah. No, I love the Haunted Mansion. Like it's my
one of my favorite
ride.
Things.
Yeah,
I've said this before. I consider that ride an actual work of art that needs to be preserved. Like, it's just such a beautiful ride.
It really is. It's really cool. And I don't know, like I feel like the ride itself kind of has a tonal weirdness to it too, where it's kind of childish and playful in some spots, but in other spots it's like, oh, this is actually kind of a little sinister.
It's more gothic than these movies are making him. These movies are a little more cartoony, I would argue, than the actual Haunted Mansion ride.
Yeah.
Not by much. I just don't know. Like, horror for kids is very hit or miss, and I think in their mind they're like, this can be a franchise, and it's like, this trailer feels like they're trying to extend it to make it more adventure, because I think for them it's like everything has to be, huge.
Yeah.
They want to make a bunch.
Yeah, everything needs to be an action adventure movie.
Right.
I will say I do like the cast. This is Danny DeVito, Rosario Dawson, Lakeith Stanfield. I think there was somebody else I saw in there that I liked, but I like the cast. Yeah,
no creeps in this one. Also, it has Jared Leto.
Oh, it does?
Incidentally. Yeah. He's in this. He's also in their new Tron. So what's happening there? Why is Disney like, Jared Leto? That's our guy.
They're really just waiting for something to come out, I guess. They're like, nope, we're sticking by Jared. Who does he play Little Ghoul Man in this? Who does he play?
He plays the Hat Box Ghost. So yeah, Little Ghoul Man.
Little Ghoul Man, that makes sense.
Remind me, what's Jared Leto's big hit and star-making role that makes Hollywood love him? What's his
I got nothing.
signature.
Oh, Requiem for a Dream?
He has been in a lot of big movies, but like he's not like headlined anything that was a huge hit. I think it's just
I'm going through and I'm just like he's been in My So-Called Life. He also has an Oscar, does he not? For Dallas Buyers Club? I don't know. They saw him in Panic Room and they're like, that's the future of acting. That
You're just
guy.
going through his IMDb and trying to find the thing that
I really am. Wait, which one did you say, Tom?
Dallas Buyers Club.
Yeah, that would be it. Yeah, I think he's not a terrible actor, but
no, I think he's actually
seem like he's
pretty
here.
good most times, but also he's like a weird cult leader.
Yeah. It's the thing where it's like this it outweighs it, where it's like he's a good actor. There are other good actors.
Yes. Yeah. He's not so good that I don't know. This weird.
Yeah, he's very, I would say, replaceable.
Sure.
Did you mention Lakeith Stanfield?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes me excited. As I put it in the notes, I don't know. I liked the Eddie Murphy one for what it was. I don't have like high standards for this. I don't think this is a story that they're gonna nail. So I'm just like, sure, looks fine.
Yeah, it's there. I don't know, like, because the Eddie Murphy one also tried to kind of make an action adventure movie out of it, and I remember that one being a little, like, there was a little bit of like some of the zombies were kind of hardcore, but like overall, I remember that one being pretty boring.
Again, it's a hard adaptation.
It's weird. It shouldn't be though, because there, like you said, there is so much. There's a weird amount of lore to the ride. There's all of these iconic scenes from the ride itself that could easily be put into a movie like this. I don't know. It's just
they just have to lean into the traumatizing of children. They have to do the Land Before Time it, where they just have to be like, fuck it, let's make this horrifying. Let's make this Gremlins. Because the lore is that I believe a bride hangs herself because the groom dies. So it's a grisly story, so it's tough, I'd say, to make it too child friendly,
I don't know. It also doesn't have a built-in narrative, really. It has a lot of backstory, but it doesn't have, like, Pirates as a narrative that you go through. So that was maybe a little bit easier for them to adapt. I don't know.
Any other thoughts on this?
No.
The broadly, not to send us off on a tangent, but I've always, like, I'm fascinated by the haunted house genre, which obviously goes back forever. For as long as we've had big houses. For some reason, the human mind just assumes that if a house is big enough, it's got to have ghosts in it, as if there's like a minimum square footage. So the first novel I wrote that, for people who have not heard of me prior to today, that made my career, was the horror novel John Dies at the End. And the first idea I had for it was like, what if people had trailers that were haunted? Because these guys live in like a crappy small town and there's like trailer parks. It's like, so there's a key moment where they have to visit a trailer that is haunted, because like, well, yeah, but why not? Like, that's a living space.
Yeah.
Why couldn't you have monsters or some entity setting up in, somebody's tiny house? Why does it have to?
Man, it's a haunted tiny house would be really funny.
I always wanted to do a story about a haunted airport where the ghost keeps just looking for that window where there's only like one person around that they can scare, because they'd just be always crowded all the time, and it's like, well, that's no fun. And then it's like really bright. It's just not good haunting situation. So yeah,
that reminds me. I mean, he's a terrible person, but Chris Hardwick made a joke one time where he said, "How come there's no new ghosts? Like every ghost is like 150 years old.
Yeah,
like, how come there's no ghosts from like 1998?
All right, we're really weird about what like ghost stories. But I get it, because it's all. I think haunted houses, mansions are alien to us, right? Because most of us don't live in them.
Right, and it being from a different time also helps it be alien. So I think that's why there's no new ghosts, because it's like it'd be hard to be scared of a dude in like a Bouncing Souls t-shirt.
I mean, depends on the context.
It's true.
Yeah. But yeah, generally speaking, I don't know. Now I kind of want that.
Ska ghosts, Dave, is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, there should more things need to be haunted, and we need bigger variety of ghosts.
We do for sure. Yeah, let's go to the next trailer.
All right, this is Killers of the Flower Moon, directed by one Martin Scorsese. He's got all of them in it.
The Leo,
well, two of them. He's got Leo and De Niro.
Robert De Niro.
He's got his two guys.
Now, this is based on a book which is based on a true story.
Right.
The true story that I went and looked up on Wikipedia is nuts.
Yeah.
And I cannot believe I had never heard of this before.
Same.
So I guess you would be spoiling the movie for yourself if you went and did that. But I can tell you, if you're worried that this is a boring movie about Leo DiCaprio being sad for 3 hours in a house, which this trailer kind of, there's like, well, there's an evil old oil man who wants the land and he's harassing the people. I'm telling you, the story is bonkers what actually happened. So like gruesome on a level that is old school.
It's a
stuff.
number of murders, right? It's all about fighting over oil that's in Native American land, right? Am I remembering it correctly?
And apparently
the FBI gets involved because it's treated like a serial killing, I believe.
Yeah. This is also from the writer, or one of the writers is also the writer of Munich, The Good Shepherd, Forrest Gump. There was one other that caught my eye, Benjamin Button, Dune, the newest Dune. So this is a pro screenwriter. I just think this is going to be very, very, very good.
Yeah.
It is almost 4 hours long.
Yeah, and it'll get all the awards.
Yeah.
It'll certainly be nominated for them.
I can tell you right now.
I think this is the first Scorsese movie that's been in a theater in a long time, right?
Yeah, probably.
I'm trying to remember what the last one even was.
Didn't he do the
Wolf of Wall Street? What came after that?
No,
Silence?
The Irishman?
Irishman
was Netflix.
Did that not play in theaters at all?
I think they briefly did it for 2 weeks, maybe, for some award
Just so
season
it qualify
qualification.
for the awards.
Yeah,
that's right.
I think the last one might have been Silence, which wasn't that long ago, but it seems like it was. Anyway,
how did you guys feel about The Irishman?
I enjoyed it. I thought the de-aging stuff was ridiculous because as good as you can make a performer's face look with that technology, you can't disguise the fact that he still walks like an 80-year-old man.
Yeah.
So the scene where he's stomping a guy on the curb was particularly absurd because Robert De Niro can barely lift his leg up that high because he's old.
Right.
But he's supposed to be 38 in that scene.
Yeah.
But I actually liked it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I liked it all right. My feeling, I'm just scrolling through his IMDb and I'm like, wow, Martin Scorsese is a good director, which is a very silly thing to think. But I'm realizing he is almost all hits for me. I don't think about that enough where it's I generally like his films.
Yeah.
Very briefly.
What about you?
I have an odd question. When you watched The Irishman, and of course it is, for those who've not seen it, it is about an old ex-mafia guy talking about his life in the mob, and then it's all of these famous, he was a personal assistant to Jimmy Hoffa, and that he was in on Jimmy Hoffa's murder, and he was part of all of these famous unsolved mob hits he said he had done. Did you guys think that this was a biographical movie about an actual guy, or did you think it was fiction?
I knew it was about a real guy, but that a lot of his claims were contested.
Yes, it's about a real guy. See, I find this fascinating, and I didn't feel like the film really conveyed it. It's about a mafia guy who at the end of his life confessed to a bunch of stuff that the feds know he didn't. They know he didn't do any of it. He was a very minor. He was a driver, a delivery guy that they think did some work for the mob. But all of the stuff about him being Jimmy Hoffa's personal confidant, being in on that killing and all of this stuff and all of because he names all of these famous like unsolved mob hits, and it was like, well, that was me and I did this. No, he was just BSing. He was making himself sound like a big shot. So like the feds laughed at it because it's like, that's what these guys do. Any guy that spent 5 minutes with a mobster is like, oh yeah, those are my mob hitman days. Because you go to jail, whatever, you can talk yourself up. And this guy was like on his deathbed when he relayed this to a journalist, and they wrote it into a book. But then the film kind of plays it like the film doesn't play it like, well, did this happen? Did it not? Is this just the ramblings of an old man? Is he trying to claim some sort of a meaningful life for himself that he didn't really live? He's just like a low level goon or whatever. And instead just kind of like plays it straight. Like, look at this remarkable life of an old mobster.
It would have been really tough to end that like 3-hour film with an FBI guy going, anyway, it's all bullshit. It's like, oh, okay. Well, fuck me then, I guess. Like that, but yeah, that would have been interesting. I feel like, so Goodfellas and Casino, which we covered recently, aren't those like loosely based on true stories, but not exactly based on true stories?
A lot of details were changed, but yes.
Henry Hill is kind of the same thing, because Goodfellas, like Henry Hill, Ray Liotta's character, real guy, like he worked with him on the film, right? Like it's based on his book, and wasn't he like an advisor on the set? But it's the same thing. Like these guys talk themselves up.
Oh, for sure.
And so it's, I don't know. And again, Martin Scorsese, this is not a work of journalism. It's not his job. He's making, a piece of entertainment. It's just that it really blurs the line.
Yeah.
When it's like, I'm going to give you a look at the inside of what really goes on. Because again, the Wolf of Wall Street guy, the exact same thing. Like all that stuff's like, oh yeah, I was literally snorting cocaine out of the anuses of the most beautiful women in the world. It's like, okay, but is it possible you're also lying about that?
Right.
Is it possible you're a liar?
Isn't that what happened with Catch Me If You Can?
Oh,
Am
yeah,
I wrong about
yeah,
that?
No, yeah, Frank Abagnale made up all of that stuff.
Here's a story about how I'm a liar. And it's like, I don't know, maybe that story is a lie based on what you're saying.
Because whole thing's like, yeah, I was 15 years old and I put on an airliner uniform and they let me fly planes. It's like, no, they didn't. It's a fun Spielberg movie, but it's like in real life, he absolutely did not do any of that stuff. I'm wondering how many listeners are just now finding out that Frank Abagnale, like his con was convincing people that he was a genius con man. When in reality,
his actual con was check fraud.
Just the boring crap that any idiot can do.
The only thing he did was draw a paycheck from an airline, I believe. He never actually went on a plane and pretended to be a pilot, because they would figure that out real fast.
Yeah, and because everybody'd be dead.
Yeah.
What's really funny is that there's so many movies about grifters that are extensions of their grifts, such as The Conjurings are the same with the Warrens. Or honestly, he's not a grifter, but almost everything you hear about Houdini, like a lot of what Houdini did was literally just pay people to say he did things. And so like, that's kind of it. And it goes a long way, it seems. It's just really interesting how we've just kind of embraced a lot of that, because we're like, well, they told a good story.
Yeah. And guess what? Every serial killer who's ever talked to the press or written an autobiography, they have inflated their body count between 10 and 100 times over. Right. Anybody that claims that they've killed like 300 prostitutes over the course of 10 years, that is always a lie. It's always the case. You go to Wikipedia, it's like the feds can confirm like 3 victims, maybe 4 others he claimed, but they couldn't confirm. But then the guy claims that he killed just dozens and dozens of people. They always do that. They inflate like how bad they were. And then there are descriptions of like the ritualistic torture and stuff. Lots of times, even that's not true, because again, they're trying to sell a book. They're trying to get a book deal. It's like, oh yeah, I cut off the head, that I had sex with the head. I'm crazy.
Well, yeah, once you're caught, you're like, okay, I better just go for the gold here.
What difference does it make?
I think other times they like Ted Bundy when it was times you do it. So like, well, maybe I can get a stay of execution. There's more bodies. I can show you where they're buried.
For sure.
Yeah. Anyway, back to this trailer.
This trailer. I just want to shout out Jesse Plemons is in this movie. Mm-hmm. Always a delight. I love that he's just all in every good movie. He's just there.
Yeah,
he's just there with us.
I really liked this trailer. And I've been
very good trailer.
Yeah, I've been pretty stoked for this movie since it first got announced, and it feels like this one has taken forever to come out too. But it's finally coming out in October.
Ooh, yeah.
Like I think it started showing at festivals last December, if I'm not mistaken. So it's like, man, really making us wait for this movie.
My one last note though. Okay, 4-hour movie. That's fine. I love David Lean. I'm a big fan of 2001: A Space Odyssey. But what those films had was a little thing called intermissions, and I don't see why we can't have those again. Like, that was the point of them, right? Was the movies were like, listen, we know we're long. Here's a breather.
You go use the bathroom. Some of us have just small bladders.
Right, and they used to do that. They knew that at a certain point. I don't know why we're not doing that anymore. Should we move on?
Yeah.
Okay. The next one is just Prisoner's Daughter. Starring a hardened Brian Cox.
Brian Cox gets out of jail to come live with his estranged daughter, Kate Beckinsale, and he uses his prison violence to fix her and her family's life.
It's like Mary Poppins.
The trailer looks terrible. Like every line has that like Lifetime Channel movie delivery where like every line is like a greeting card slogan or something, and it's delivered in like the most over the top. I don't know.
I mean, hey, now it's from the director of Twilight and Mafia Mama, so how bad could it be?
Yeah.
Those were excellent.
I think they directed some episodes of This Is Us, which I think is the TV version of that, where it's like every moment is a tearjerker. Like we're supposed to be crying at everything that happens. It's really off-putting to me. But again, is this a theatrical release? Is this something that was intended to be dumped directly to Tubi?
Yeah,
or whatever.
This feels like a Tubi. I think. I don't know. For me, it's Brian Cox. That's the only reason I would want to see this.
Yeah,
because otherwise it looks pretty generic.
Well, I'm tired of this story. We have so many versions of this movie. But I do want to see Brian Cox beat people to death with his bare fists.
The thing about Brian Cox is he can't stop acting. He's been in over 200 films, 233 according to his IMDb. He can't stop. And Succession just ended, so he is exploding back into films. He has 10 upcoming projects. He can't stop.
Can't help himself.
Yeah, exactly.
He played Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah.
The first time, the first one, yeah.
Yeah.
And
everything from Hannibal Lecter to being in Super Troopers. He's just, he's great. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's very there's just something funny about it. Like Brian Cox, after having watched Succession, he's a terrifying man, or at least can be. So I could see this working out for that reason.
I mean, he usually plays like intimidating roles or heavies, Anyway, but yeah.
Any other thoughts on Prisoner's Daughter?
No, it looks real dumb, but.
Anybody listening has not watched Succession on HBO, or you thought it was just like a movie about business or a series about like business people arguing with each other, give it a shot. It is. Yeah. It is a dark comedy, and most people don't get that. It is some of the most deadpan dark comedy you will ever see, with some amazing performances, and it looks beautiful. But it above all else, it is like a satire that is played incredibly straight most of the time. There's nothing on TV like it. I can't compare it to another show because there's not another show that has this exact tone. It's like a more serious version of Veep, the Julie Louis-Dreyfus show from a few years ago, where she was playing the vice president. But it's not that goofy and not that over the top. It's more of a slow burn. But yeah, go watch it if you like Brian Cox.
It's a little close to. Yeah, it's a little close to home. Like there's episodes that I will literally get mad because they feel, it feels like real things happening. But it definitely is this idea, again, without spoiling anything, that it's just these people who are driven almost by just the like greed. Like they always want more. And there's always these moments where you're like, all you have to do is stop. All you have to do is just stop and go enjoy your money. And they can't stop. No one can stop. And yeah, you're right. Where it's at times it's laugh out loud, I would say. Yeah, I've been enjoying the shit out of it. Should we move on to
Yes, we
God
should.
is a Bullet.
God is a bullet.
Terrible name.
Dave, it's the greatest name.
Okay.
Okay,
Fine.
you guys need to explain this to me because this looks to me like bottom of the barrel direct to video on demand stuff. And that actor, the lead actor, is Jamie Lannister. How do you pronounce the actor's name?
Nikolai Coster. Well, I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Waldo,
Okay,
I think is his name.
Why isn't he more famous? Because this looks to me like, why is he forced to take stuff like this? But then you're saying, Dave, that this is from Nick Cassavetes. Who is that, and why would that?
He is actually known. I think he acts more, right? He was in Face Off. But he has directed some films that I would say are pretty good. He directed Alpha Dog. He directed The Notebook. He directed John Q. Movies that kind of are under the radar, but people consider good movies. So that's why I'm like, well, there's some level of quality. That isn't to say that I'll like this movie or that this movie is amazing. And I agree with you guys that, like, where the trailer is a little like, it's just only to say that he has like films under his belt that people enjoy, you know. A lot of like Alpha Dog, I think is. I remember that being a surprisingly good movie, very dark movie, but like not a bad movie, right? Unless I'm imagining it wrong.
I didn't see it.
It's a bleak movie, is from what I remember, but it's. I don't think it's considered a bad movie. And like The Notebook is like, you know, it's The Notebook.
Yeah, The Notebook is fine. But about this movie, this movie looks like dog shit. I agree. It's a satanic panic movie.
That's the weirdest thing about it, where they're like, you know, that satanic panic. It's right.
It's right.
And,
yeah,
and that's the weirdest part in this trailer.
It's all about Jamie Lannister is trying to find his daughter who was snatched by a devil cult, who's going to do devil shit to her, just like you read about. But he's going to have help from the woman from It Follows and Jamie Foxx.
Yeah.
And it's just him. It's just them like blasting their way through a satanic cult, which that's the kind of garbage I like to watch. Like, so this looks like garbage. I'm not disputing that, but it looks like garbage that I am going to watch.
It also has January Jones. It has Ethan Suplee in it. It's got a cast. Jamie Foxx. It's like
it's got a cast of people who have fallen on hard times. So that's fair. I want this, you know, I hope they all get paid. I love that actor. Boy, have any of the Game of Thrones people broken out? They've all gotten stuff, but have
but I think that's common. Like I always think about like The X-Files was one of the biggest shows. David Duchovny, Gillian Anderson, they didn't break out in movies, you know, like
Friends. The Office.
Friends, yeah. Yeah, it's like it just happens and it's weird.
I guess you have to do the John Krasinski thing and just get ripped and become action guy.
Right. Yeah, I guess. That. I also wonder if it's just that they're also just rich enough. Like they probably made a lot of money doing this stuff, which isn't to say, you know, that doesn't stop people from pursuing acting some more. But I wonder what the formula is, why TV doesn't equate to film. It's very odd.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, God is a bullet.
It's it's weird. It does it does look like schlock, but I am curious enough about it because I think it's supposed to be. You know, like the devil worshipping stuff is weird, but I think it's trying to be campy, is my guess.
Right. It's also an element of one of the finest action films ever made, which is, of course, Sylvester Stallone's Cobra. So
Right.
I don't want
exactly.
to write a movie off just because it's buying into the satanic panic.
I don't know. Well, let's talk about this next one, The Creator.
Sure.
What do you guys think?
It is big budget, original sci-fi blockbuster, not based on an IP that's not a sequel, directed by the guy who directed Rogue One. I think it looks great. The story seems like it was constructed out of 27 identical movies I've seen before.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the effects look fantastic. The art direction, the design, everything looks great. I will go see it just because I want an original big budget sci-fi blockbuster that's not
Yeah.
a sequel or a comic book to succeed. And it probably will not.
I hope it does. Yeah, Gareth Edwards. Like I saw Monsters before he had done anything else, and I was like, this person's going to go places.
Yeah.
And then they just kind of they did the indie film to giant blockbuster pipeline on him, and they just dumped Godzilla and Star Wars on him. And I always felt like I wish this guy had had a chance to develop his own style, to be like to not have to be part of these giant things. So I hope this is the result of him getting all that money and all that connections, you know what I mean, where it's like, okay, you did Godzilla, Star Wars, show us something.
Yeah.
So
I want to be more excited about this, but like it looks good in terms of like the shots and the effects all look really, really good and really polished. And, the art direction and everything looks very professional and very high quality, but it also looks kind of bland and antiseptic and boring to me, kind of like a lot of like sci-fi futuristic stuff looks. And like the fact that the first thing that we see in the trailer is the AI that we use to control our defense systems has launched a nuke in Los Angeles. I'm like, oh, so like Skynet? Like exactly what Skynet did? So it was like Jason was saying, this movie, the story just feels like a little bit of Terminator, a little bit of Children of Men, a little bit of like an iRobot or like Westworld. It just feels like potpourri of recent or significant sci-fi. So it's like I can't really get that jazzed about watching it, which is a shame.
There's a very
There needs to be another twist in there that they're not giving us, because otherwise the twist is like it's iRobot, because the trailer is like humans have launched their war against AI after AI has turned on us. So now we are genociding the robots, and then the hero stumbles across a child robot and decides, no, I'm not going to kill this one. So he has to like try to get it to safety back to its robot family. And now the humans are evil, and the robots are maybe not so bad after all. And we can all try to understand each other. And it's a metaphor for whatever, a genocide. But yeah, we've seen that. What's the cartoon robot that made everybody sad at the end? Iron Giant.
Wall-E? Oh, the Iron Giant.
It's a whole genre of we should, and I'm eager for the think pieces from people who are like, is this the first piece of pro AI propaganda that the AIs are trying to get out there?
It'd be very funny
to disarm us before they actually do take over and render the species extinct.
It'd be really funny if we got a screenwriting AI and all it wrote was screenplays about how AI is good and fine, and like, we should all submit to it.
Yeah, an erotic thriller about how powerfully sexual AI is.
Yeah.
It's really obvious.
Here's the more cynical view on Gareth Edwards. Is that Monsters was a very unique film, but the premise is just kaiju. It's about the perspective, and then the thing that made the news is that he did all the effects on his laptop, and so you'll notice story has nothing to do with that. And in fact, there was a lot of improv making that movie, which is rather slow. So he jumped from that straight to other people's stories. So kind of like Neil Blomkamp, where there's a possibility of like, okay, so like he also hasn't really had a chance to express himself fully creatively since then, and this is the first movie he's written and directed since Monsters. So I mean, maybe it is just going to be, because I'm also noticing watching the trailer, all the structures look like Star Wars. Are you guys noticing that?
Yeah.
They all look like, so it's like, I don't know, maybe he doesn't have anything to say. Maybe it is just a bunch of different ideas from other sci-fi merged together. I want to believe it isn't, because I do think he's a very talented director. So I have a level of faith in this, but I absolutely hear what you guys are saying, where it doesn't, story-wise, nothing's really popping out, right?
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Everything from that trailer needs to be from the first act or from the first half of the film. And then we need to find out that the second half takes it in a totally new and unique direction. Because if what we saw in the trailer was a summary of the entire plot, then I've now watched the entire movie. I get it. And eventually at the end, it's going to turn out that the real evil thing was being done by people, and that the robots are just misunderstood. But that's not. Maybe at the end he'll come to the conclusion, no, the robot genocide actually is a good idea.
It was good.
This child robot, they made this thing to try to tug on my heartstrings, and then the lesson he must learn is like, no, we must kill them no matter what shape they're in.
Yeah, no matter what tricks they may try to pull.
I will say, I don't want to spoil the actual film, but that has also been done. So it's tough.
Oh, yeah.
Robots and AI, it's really tough to say anything about it, because it seems like it's this idea of good or bad, and we have nothing else to say.
Yeah,
so
some robots are assholes, but not all of them.
Just some are jerks.
Yeah. I want to allow for that possibility.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I've suspected that certain machines I've owned were just assholes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, 100%. All right. Well, next trailer, The Walking Dead, Dead City. I assume not based off the song by The Exploited.
Maybe it's about New York City.
Yeah, that's true.
Is this a mini-series or a series they intend to run for 10 more years?
It's not clear.
It is a series, though, right?
It just says series. Yeah, it doesn't say limited series or mini series. It just says series. So I was confused about that too.
Oh, my theory is every Walking Dead pitch, and when they talk about it, it ends with them going, and this will run for 1 to 50 seasons. And they're like, yeah, sounds good. Walking Dead to me is just our soap operas. Now it's just forever.
Right. It's just days of our lives at this point.
It is. And that's not an insult.
No.
Yeah. A lot of things can be boiled down to being a soap opera, but this more than any. Because the thing that shocked me about this is I stopped watching right around the Negan stuff in the Walking Dead show, which was later than most people. And last I checked in, Negan killed Glenn in front of Maggie, who is the love of her life. And in this trailer, they're just hanging out.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like,
they're teaming up.
What happened there? Because that seems unlikely, but okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
A lot of shows are like that, where if you skip the intervening eight seasons or however long that's been, it's like the writers, that's many writer brainstorming sessions, that's many cast members leaving and getting killed off, that's many changes to the tone of the show, because the tone of this thing I don't recognize.
Right.
Okay.
This seems like it exists in a different universe from The Walking Dead, because it's just this. Yeah.
When did The Walking Dead debut? How far into this are we now?
2010, 2009. It was around there. Maybe 2011, but it was around that time.
Yeah, that checks out. Looks like 2010 according to IMDb. So yeah, we're well into it at this point. We're over 10 years here, and they ended The Walking Dead, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they still are doing Fear the Walking Dead.
Yeah,
they're doing this
spin-offs, and I think there's going to be a movie with I think Andrew Lincoln is going to come back and do a movie or something as whatever his character's name was. Rick.
Dead. I thought Rick was dead.
No, I think Rick just leaves.
Yeah, I think they did kill off I mean, guess spoilers for Walking Dead, because I recently went on the Wikipedia because I was like, what did happen on that fucking show? I guess Carl died.
Oh yeah. Carl's been dead.
What it comes down to, it's kind of like the Marvel situation where it's like, if you don't intend to end it, characters just, their arcs are either they die or they just go away.
Yeah. And they really peters out. Yeah, it's not much of a story.
It's not much of a story. It feels like, again, like a soap opera. Where it's like people disappear, other people show back up, you know?
Yeah, like for everything Rick went through. Like he wakes up from a coma, his partner and best friend is fucking his wife, and then he has to kill his best friend, and then his wife and the baby gets killed, and then he tries to raise his son, and his son turns into a little maniac, and then he gets killed, and then like the resolution of all that pain that he went through is he just leaves, like he just walks off into the sunset,
right?
And that's it.
Okay,
to go where? Where is there to go?
I don't know. I just read about it. I didn't actually watch the last episode he was in.
And then the main villain is now their like spin-off. Here's him having a romp in New York, and it's like, oh, okay.
I understood that one a little bit more because, like, at least when I was reading the comics, like the idea of Negan was that he was just Rick. It was just them meeting themselves. Like that's exactly how they would have treated another group of like people who attacked them.
Yeah, but I also think Jeffrey Dean Morgan was just. He's very charismatic.
Right, he's just too charismatic for them to write him off the show, especially after they lost their other male lead. So
for sure.
For people who are asking, oh my gosh, who is still watching The Walking Dead that they can keep making these shows? The fascinating thing is that since that show came out in 2010, just in that span of time, the media landscape has totally changed. Because the entire streaming era basically came to the fore during that time. And the audiences are so fragmented now that you can have a franchise like this that has lost probably 90% of its fans, I'm going to guess, from its apex, and it doesn't matter. That remaining 10% now, with the way it works now, that's enough to carry a show and to make it bigger than any alternative show they could put in that spot.
Yeah. No, it's really weird. Because no one I know watches this show anymore.
Nope.
Right?
I don't know anybody that's a fan of this franchise right now outside of the video games.
Right, there's video games.
They're pretty good
what
too.
What a franchise!
Yeah, this is a wild franchise. It's a huge franchise. But yeah, this show has like a weird. This show definitely feels like a different universe to me. It's just that the trailer is very like, it's kind of like an Escape from New York tone, where it's kind of like, it's more like an action, like a grungy action movie where they're kind of cracking wise and stuff. And I was, man, it's departure from the bleak as hell, depressing tone of the original.
For sure.
But whatever, I don't know.
Yeah.
I've been over zombie stuff for a while, and I never really got into the Walking Dead TV show, so this is whatever for me.
Right. No, yeah, again, my thoughts is like, okay, it's like Baywatch or whatever, but like,
sure.
I don't know, it's fun that it's zombies. Like that is
unexpected.
It's more interesting than the lifeguards, I guess. So, yeah, cool.
Sure, why not?
Yeah. Final trailer, Five Nights at Freddy's. It's happening. I mean, they already made that Nicolas Cage movie, but this is
that looks exactly the same as this. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the off-brand one. This is like the one.
The fish.
Yeah.
I clearly do not understand the Five Nights at Freddy's phenomenon, because I thought it was a PC and mobile game, like a really simple, like a button pressing game that only went viral because like PewDiePie and some other big streamers did a big thing where they would play the game and then really act scared when the animatronic monsters would attack, and they would like do a big show of screaming in the camera. And that was it. Like, I thought it was just a fad where people just goofed around playing the game. The trailer to this thing, the reaction among a certain segment or certain age group is like, finally it's here. And then they're picking it apart the way people picked apart the first Dune trailer. Yeah. Where they're like, well, that doesn't look right. Well, like, why is his ears shaped like that? They're going to ruin it. They're going to ruin Five Nights at Freddy. And to me, like this is like the Angry Birds movie. This is like a cheap cash in, but there's
Right.
apparently like deep lore and stuff that
No, there's not. I refuse to believe that.
Well, let me tell you. First of all, 8 games. There's 8 games.
No.
There's 1,
No.
2,
You're both
3,
lying to
4,
me.
5 spin-off games on top of the 8 games that have gone for out everything from mobile to VR to just PlayStation. There is let me see. There's I guess something called the Fanverse, which was something. It was I guess a fan created game as well. There is a novel trilogy, books.
What is in those books?
Okay.
Yep.
Nope. Stop. If you read too much about the books, at some point you're going to read how many copies those books sold, and I cannot hear that today.
That's fair. That's fair. Here's what I'm guessing. I'm completely guessing. I assume it's a lot like Mortal Kombat. The way like I assume adults looked at Mortal Kombat at the time, which was like, it's just people fighting. But Mortal Kombat has such an elaborate lore, right? It's like, what is this tournament? What's the backstory of everyone? I think I haven't researched it at all. I assume it's all lore about like how did this place become haunted? Why are the animatronics alive? Like what is the, I don't know, what is the background to it all? And of course, the security guard who you play as, I assume you play as different people and different ones, so there's a lore there. But this is like a 10-year long series. I put in the notes that my nephew, who is, I believe, 12, this is exactly who it's for, because he is in it. He's plugged into Five Nights at Freddy's, from what I can tell. And I believe my niece is as well, who's, I believe, 10. I really should say that with more certainty.
When she was born, though, the first one, I guess it's just been there her whole life.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's just a game. I think it's the idea that, like, there was so much access to it. It's kind of like Minecraft, where it's like, you got a phone, you can play Minecraft.
Yeah, and
you
Fortnite.
got a computer, you can be, yeah, exactly. It's that idea of like, because one of the things I also noticed about just watching these two tiny children is that like they rarely watched movies. They didn't sit down and play console games because it just wasn't. That just wasn't how they were consuming things anymore. It was just phones, iPads, and I think that's probably similar to a lot. So this has been there, and there's just a lot of lore and shit that they probably got to read and be part of. That's just completely hidden from us.
So if I go to Google image search and I search for Five Nights at Freddy's pornography, do you think I will find that some exists?
Yes.
I mean, I think you could do that for literally anything, though, right? To some extent. Are you doing it?
Yeah, there's actually entire subgenres, it appears, of there's apparently you could spend the rest of your life only looking at Five Nights at Freddy erotica. It's
I did it
just
too.
page after page after page after page after page after page. There's some
I did
live
it
action
too.
stuff. There's some animated. There's some 3D animated. There's,
What you got? What do you got?
No, it's just because I'm trying to think of, like, I'm trying to think of what age range you would have to be. I guess if you grew up with Five Nights at Freddy's when you were a child and now you're a teenager, you're at the age where you want to.
It's like a gateway to porn, I would imagine.
Some of
Where
this,
it's like,
they've just filmed two people having sex and they've titled it Five Nights at Freddy's porno. Now that I feel like is
that's
unethical.
lazy. That's come on.
that's just working the algorithms, right? Where
That's
they're
true.
just like, people search for this.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So do you think you need to bring on a younger third co-host, somebody who's in that 16 to 17, 18-year-old range who would understand
No.
the gravity of the Five Nights at Freddy's verse and why we should care about it? because I feel like
I
we're
think-
not doing a good enough job of getting people excited about the movie. We've not even talked about the trailer or how it's shot
Yeah.
or who's directing this film.
Well, it's the director hasn't done much. Emma Tammy.
It's also Martin Scorsese, strangely enough.
They did something called The Wind. Oh shit, I've heard of The Wind.
Yeah.
They've done some horror movies. They've done some really serious horror movies. So I think the tone of this looks exactly right, which is that it's clearly horror for kids, right? It's like it's not trying to go hard.
No, there's no. This is my main disconnect with this series. There's no universe in which those animatronic animals are frightening to me.
Right. Yes, that's a big part of it. It's got the Matthew Lillard, but I think so. If we want to talk about the horror, I do think the basic idea has been with us for a while, and all the way back to The Shining, the book, which is simply that it's an animatronics that don't move when you're looking at them,
Right.
but get closer and closer every time you look away. That I get why that's fundamentally scary,
Yeah.
and why that would be scary to a kid, right? Because it's a very like a hide and seek type dynamic. The animatronics themselves don't look particularly scary. I agree, but I get the premise, right?
Sure.
I get why
Yeah,
that's
sure.
scary. But I just don't think it's going to be like horrifying, right?
No. Why would it be? It's for kids.
Yeah.
Can't wait for this thing to open to $120 million opening weekend.
It might,
yeah.
it might,
Turns
man.
out
Super
every
Mario just made all
teenager-
the money in the world.
Yeah. I guess my feeling of it is that that's all fine to me, I think.
Sure.
Because this is an original, well, it's 10 years old now, but this is like a child age horror thing the way we liked, Goosebumps and Fear Street, right? Which I would argue was also probably, there was a level of, it was derivative. It was based off of previous horror. Like a lot of horror is. So like, to me, it's just like, yeah, good for these kids. Hope they all become a bunch of insufferable goths.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I hope that happens. I hope the darkness takes them.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it will. But yeah, I super don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. It's fine. It's I'm glad for all of the people who are very excited for this movie.
Yeah.
I am
Yeah.
too old.
We're way too old, and we're all very tired. And
So tired, just so tired.
I feel like any of our reactions to these animatronics moving would just be like exhaustion.
It'd just be a heavy sigh, yeah.
Yeah.
You turn around and see the bear and move closer, just be like, ugh.
Ugh.
It's been one of
Yeah.
these nights, all right.
I get it. I try to stay very still too in my day-to-day life.
I do most of my activities when nobody is looking as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's name some producers.
Okay. I guess we can do that. Big thank you to Deborah is awesome. Barbara is great, and cancer can go to hell. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to Dracula, the bus driving vampire.
Thank you.
Thank you to Driftless, aka Goochcock.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you to E.T., the extravagant terresticle.
Thank you.
Thank you to Evil Ed 209.
Thank you so much.
Thank you to Exploding Runes.
Thank you.
Thank you to Funky J Mostly Comes Out at Night. Mostly.
Thank you.
Thank you to Glitterous, CFO of Michael Shannon's Chocolate Factory.
Thank you so much.
And thank you to Heathcliff's Helping Handfuls.
Thank you so much.
You.
All right, let me jump in here. Thank you to Ombre, the Mexican American ninja says Mabel, step on me.
Thank you.
Thank you to ImpossibleWorlds.net. Issue 1 is now free. Issue 2 releases in June.
Thank you.
Thank you to James Cameron's Prolapse Locomotive.
Thank you.
Thank you to Chris Shanovich.
Thank you.
Thank you to Look Mom on a podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you to Mackenzie Fuck Shuffling with Willem Dafoe's confusingly large dick chill.
Thank you.
Thank you to Mercurial Oz.
Thank you.
Thank you to Mike the Lurker.
Thanks.
Thank you to musical guest Rob Ritchie.
Thank you.
Thank you to No One Can Hear You Scream in Space McNulty.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's
Thank
talk about some news stories.
We got some news stories here, starting with Jason. You added this, and this is quite a thing.
This is very sad.
We
Yeah.
have this among us and some other people on Twitter. There's these headlines that come out of Cannes every year where a movie got an X minute standing ovation, and it's such
Yeah.
a repeated headline. And it's always like breathless, like whatever debuted, and Captain America: Winter Soldier got a 12-minute standing ovation, and for whatever reason that has become a format of headline. And the joke is always, there's nothing I've seen in my life, including accomplishments by loved ones, that I would applaud for 7 straight minutes for. There's a point where that kind of applause becomes almost mean-spirited
Mhm.
or sarcastic. And I've certainly never seen a movie that I would applaud that long for. But so the headline was, this is from Variety: Indiana Jones 5 gets lukewarm 5-minute ovation.
Yep.
As Harrison
mean-
Ford says an emotional goodbye.
That's so brutal. Like, to put it in perspective, like extremely mediocre movies get standing ovations. Like that.
Yeah,
that
so-
notorious movie, The Paperboy, got 15-minute standing ovation. Fahrenheit
Like-
9/11 got a 20-minute standing ovation.
Right. I don't think this movie is terrible, but this 5 minutes, that's half as long as Clerks 2 got. Clerks 2 got a 10-minute.
Yeah, we
So,
really just want
yeah.
to put in perspective how short of an ovation 5 minutes is for Khan. Like this.
Yes. It's the equivalent of everybody quietly filing out.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know why. Maybe Harrison Ford was just like, everybody sit down. I want to go to bed or something like that. But like,
maybe the movie is really bad.
I've heard a lot of bad stuff about how they couldn't figure out an ending. There was like 3 different endings. Like they considered killing off Indiana Jones. I'm burnt out on Indiana Jones.
This is going to be bad, isn't it? Oh no.
It's been
I
out
really
there for
wanted it
so
to be
long.
good.
Everything, again, we said this the last, I don't know, 7 or 8 times we've had Indiana Jones 5 on one of these episodes. That everyone involved is top notch. Like not just the cast, but the writers.
Right.
Like everything is top of the line. But I mean, it was trying to be filmed during the pandemic. It's been pushed back so many times. Harrison Ford is 107 years old. By the way, apparently his show on Apple, it's called Shrinking, I think,
Yeah.
where he
Yeah.
plays a psychiatrist, apparently is delightful. It's a comedy.
Yeah, that's what
and
I've
apparently
heard.
he does wonderful as this like kind of cranky older guy. And he can really do comedy. He's always been able to do it. He just doesn't do it very often. Apparently that show is great, and it's the type of thing he should be doing it at his age. Little small stuff where he plays an old quirky old guy.
Yeah.
But it is, I can't think of another example where they've done a 5th movie after everyone kind of didn't like the 4th one because the time had passed. And then they went ahead and did a 5th one after like 20 more years had passed, or however many. It's been a long time, right?
I think the last Pirates movie gap was kind of like that, right? Because they had that 4th one come out that nobody remembered. And then they waited a bunch of years and did, let's try again with
Maybe people miss it. Maybe maybe they're ready for it to come back. Maybe they
Yeah. This is man. So who's the director of this? It's
James Mangold.
who did Logan, right?
Yeah, but he also has made good movies.
No, he is, but Logan, I would argue Logan wasn't good. I think he's running on doing follow-ups to movies that were terrible, because I'm looking at the reviews for this. Very few reviews we have at a con, and they're all stuff where they're like, yeah, it was better than Crystal Skull, and like one review is like, yeah, he didn't cram too many Easter eggs in there, like not too many references. So it feels like, much like how like Wolverine had 2 false starts, like it's just like, yeah, pretty good. We've had worse.
Yeah, that's right. Well, he also directed The Wolverine.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
He was one of the
He
false
was one of the
starts.
false starts, yeah.
Yeah. But it's that where like that's what my feeling of Logan was, which is this like people were just starving for
a good Wolverine movie.
Yeah. And so like my guess is that this is going to be just fine.
It's gonna be a real Logan.
Yeah, I think so. I still think it's going to involve time travel, and I think that it's going to. I might be wrong on that because what I'm hearing is that it starts with all the de-aging stuff.
Yes.
So I don't think it might not be time travel. It might be like the threat of time travel. I just figure that's what the dial is going to do, right?
Maybe.
That seems to be the vibe, but yeah, seems fine. I don't know.
Yeah, that's very funny. Lukewarm 5-minute ovation.
That's wild.
It's like, it would have been better to not have a standing ovation.
Right.
Everyone listening at home, I want you to imagine going on stage and doing something. Like, say you've got to give a presentation, like you've been nervous about it, and you get up and maybe I don't know, your company makes you present to 500 people and you have to do like a PowerPoint or something like that. Or if you're a musician, maybe you play at a club, and then when it's over, I want you to imagine that the audience applauds for 12 straight minutes. I want you to get a timer out. I want you to start a stopwatch and realize how long that is. And you have to stand there, and while they're applauding you and standing up, and the point at which you would start to think you were being pranked, that you were being filmed, that this is like a TikTok flash mob thing where it's like, let's see.
Right.
Because at what point do you just leave? Do you feel like it would be rude to walk off while they're applauding that long? Or if you left and they kept applauding for 11 straight minutes after you left, would you feel obligated? Because I would leave the building.
Yeah,
right.
Like, they just kept applauding. I'd be like, this is weird.
Yeah,
that's why
you'd feel like you were being like either you're being pranked or like something like people are being possessed or like something evil's happening. Because like, imagine a 20-minute ovation for Fahrenheit 9/11.
Right. That's why my alternate theory is that the movie's great. It's just that Harrison Ford was like, everybody sit down. I don't want to stand here. Like, it reminds me, I went and saw The Addicts, this very like old punk band. You know, they're now probably in their 60s or so. They're not that old. But like, they ended the set by going, we're not doing an encore. So we're just going to play the shit. Don't expect us to come back on. Because they were just like, you know, years and years, decades of just doing these clubs and performances. And they're just like, we're done. We want to go home. It's 9:00. We're getting out of here. So I'm sort of imagining that scenario where it's just like, who wants to stand there and deal with that? That sounds exhausting.
Yeah. No, thank
That's
you.
That's the best case scenario.
Yeah.
So when does this come out? When are we finally getting
Soon.
Indiana Jones 5?
I think
it's already
next
playing at Con.
week?
Oh, it's that close. I thought it
Jesus.
was more July.
I think it's
No, it's not next week.
Is it not? Okay, I think
No, I mean, I can't. I'm just refusing.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Believe that.
Okay, I was right. It's June 30th. June 30th.
Jesus Christ.
So
So it's a month from now.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, because I'm not
yeah.
seeing a ton of TV spots and stuff yet. It'll really ramp up as we get closer.
It didn't feel like there was much build up to it at all, but I think we're also I'm used to the pandemic where we just had trailers for 3 years.
It's really skewed my
news.
perception of time. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
One final note: I would love it if they would announce in Indiana Jones 6 that they were recasting the role, and then they cast someone even older than Harrison. They cast Brian Cox in the role, or James Cromwell, or somebody.
Oh, that'd be so
Mine is
good.
90.
James Cromwell.
It continues in the same timeline. Let's be clear. It's the same act. The character is aging very quickly. It takes place in 1996.
We did a lot of audience testing, and we found that they responded really positively to like really old people running around. This next news is about Den of Thieves 2, only to say that it's happening and there's an official synopsis. Any thoughts? Any thoughts on Den of Thieves 2?
Did you guys both know that there was a Den of Thieves 1 that was a big enough hit to get?
I think we covered it.
Is it good?
Den of Thieves, yes. Den of Thieves is
Really?
the reason I put it in. It's a very underrated film.
It's a surprisingly good movie, but not because of Gerard Butler.
No,
he's like the main guy hunting the thieves in it, but it's all the thieves that are like, those are all the good characters. That's where the juice was.
Yeah. I will say it has a 41 on Rotten Tomatoes. So
Really?
I'm surprised by that.
Yeah,
It's not
a bad movie.
It's not going to change your life, but it was a really fun action.
It was a solid action heist movie. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Gerard Butler is the sweatiest and drunkest he's ever been.
Of course, that's how we like him.
But yeah, so like the idea that there's a Den of Thieves 2, I'm not so sure about because.
Oh, I'm all in.
Well, I mean, if it's the same like writers and stuff, but like
it is.
Those crooks can't come back.
Right, but it is. It's the same. It's the same director.
Okay,
writer.
All right. Well, I'm on board then.
Yeah, I mean, what do we have to lose?
Well, I was just thinking, if the only returning character is Gerard Butler's character, then I'm not sure how much I care.
Oh, right.
But like,
that's not like, he's not the biggest draw. But yeah, I don't know. It's Den of Thieves 2.
Sure.
It's gonna be great.
I'm into it.
Yeah. Speaking of things that are actually not happening, Twins 3. Arnold Schwarzenegger
Why do you
gave
keep saying
recent
Twins
interview.
3? There was not a Twins 2, was there?
Oh, maybe it is Twins 2.
Yeah, it's Twins sequel.
Okay, I just wrote 3 like an asshole.
Until right this moment, you had successfully gaslit me into thinking there had been a Twins 2 at some point, and that Arnold was wanting back for a third film, and I was now sitting here thinking, well, now hold on, did they do that thing where there was like a funny third twin? Because I remember the rumors always is going to be like Eddie Murphy, and the joke was, of course, the third twin is of a different race, because where else can you go with it?
Right.
It would have been some great 90s jokes, 90s era jokes if they had made that movie that would not hold up today, probably.
Yes, but that was, I believe that was
unwatchable. But yes,
that was the plan. It wasn't Tracy Morgan the last.
I think the most recent
Eddie Murphy was replaced by Tracy Morgan, I believe.
I think that was the most recent development. Yeah.
Yeah, and then this is all to say that Arnold Schwarzenegger more or less confirmed that it died.
For those of you who have been waiting 34 years or however long, thinking that another Twins was around the corner, Arnold Schwarzenegger angrily is enraged that Jason Reitman, because again, it's been long enough that the original director is dead. His son was like, I absolutely have no desire to do another Twins movie. That sounds ghoulish. Both of you are 80 years old. It's not funny when it's two elderly men.
And also, like the original movie is like has a weird amount of eugenics in it. It's
batshit.
It's one of the craziest movies. Yeah,
it is. It is. We covered it recently. I am pretty certain that Arnold Schwarzenegger is a Nazi Superman in it. Like that. It's like German scientists created him.
Created a genetically superior Superman
on like on an island,
on a secluded island. Yeah,
and it's like
in secret.
Yeah, and so I would have enjoyed triplets, but I do think it is correct from a money perspective not to make triplets, right?
Yeah, that's
for the reason that Jason is saying.
Of course,
which is like who in the world was going to watch this?
For example, what's the last hit Arnold Schwarzenegger comedy that came out? And the answer, it was Twins.
Kindergarten Cop.
Really?
It would be Kindergarten Cop probably, but
that was after Twins. I thought that was before.
Yeah, 91.
Okay, I take that back.
Maybe,
I apologize.
Maybe Junior, but I can't remember if Junior's a terrible movie, but I can't remember if it did well or bombed. But
I would argue this is hard. Jingle
All the Way. Did Jingle All the Way
True
do well?
Lies. I would argue True Lies is technically him doing comedy. Like it's not a comedy, but it is a. You know what I mean? Like that is Arnold doing comedy. Does that make sense?
Yeah. But it's an action movie. Yes. It's an action comedy.
Yeah.
So like the point still stands. Because even Kindergarten Cop is an action comedy. So yeah, I think like the last. It would either be Twins or Jingle All the Way. I'm not sure how well Jingle All the Way did.
Yeah, it depends on your definition.
Yeah, like you're here for the comedy. You're not here for to see him shoot people, which
right.
Like, but anyway, yeah, they probably would not necessarily have made their money back on that, but. Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'm not totally clear what he's still doing. I guess he just likes to keep busy. He turns up on Reddit every now and again, and his Twitter is pretty inspirational, but. I don't know. I guess same with Harrison Ford. Like people ask him like, why are you still acting? He's just like, this is my job. I gotta work. What am I gonna do? What else am I gonna do? With my
What
life?
else am I
It's
going
like,
to do? Yeah.
yeah,
Sit at home and stare at the wall.
yeah, I keep
Yeah.
working. I like to show up and do a good job and make sure it's always quality. Like yeah, that's
The one that we covered, Fubar, which is a series that Arnold Schwarzenegger's doing, that's the most surprising because a lot of what he's doing is like voice acting and shit. Because again, I think it's just like, or just like stuff like that he's just, it seems like he might just be interested in. Weird things, killing Gunther, and like random appearances and shit. But like a TV show, that just seems like a lot. But maybe that's a mini series. I don't know.
Yeah, well, TV shows have shorter seasons now too, and yeah,
That's fair.
maybe it's
That's
just
true.
like a 6 or 8 episode season. So
Right. And then, whenever they need another Terminator film,
That-
they just write another reason for the Terminator to be old. They
Right.
throw him in there, too.
that like $500 million Amazon series or whatever is only like 4 episodes.
That's wild.
Yeah,
Final story here, and I just like this headline. I just like it. Rennie Harlan is making a shark movie produced by Gene Simmons. That's because Gene Simmons has a production company, and Rennie Harlan's film is the first movie on the list. It's about a downed plane that's in the ocean with shark-infested waters. It is not, in fact, related to Deep Blue Sea, which I would argue is a mistake, but,
it should be.
what are you going to do?
They should just call it Deep Blue Sea 3 or 4.
Right. Honestly, Deep Blue Sea is a good name for that premise. Because you're like, you're surrounded by Deep Blue Sea. It's right there. But,
Well, they were in the original too, Dave. It was a research facility in the middle of the ocean.
That's fair. That's fair. In both, it was, in fact, a Deep Blue Sea.
Why don't you get your facts straight?
Yeah. But yeah, I'll watch this.
Lenny
Sure.
Harlan is the guy that some of your listeners are too young to realize that there was a period and he was the biggest director in Hollywood because he did
Yeah.
the Die Hard sequel that was a giant runaway hit, and then his career ended with that huge budget pirate movie.
Cutthroat
Was it
Island.
Cutthroat Island? Is that the one? Yeah.
Yep.
He did
And-
Cliffhanger.
It was the biggest bomb of all time when it came out. That Cutthroat, because it cost an
Yeah.
absurd amount of money and then made like $5 million opening weekend. Like nobody went to see it. And that he was never the same after that. But yeah, he did a string of there was a time he was the go-to guy for big budget, big effects, big stunt action movies.
Action
he
movies,
worked
yeah.
with Bruce Willis,
The Long Kiss
Sylvester
Goodnight.
Stallone. Yeah, and and then his career just kind of faded. And now if you look at IMDb, it's like,
It's pretty
now
grim.
He's
The
doing
wa-
a
yeah.
shark movie produced by Gene Simmons, probably on a budget of $3 million, and will
The
star
wildest-
Brian Bosworth or somebody.
I hope it
The
stars
wildest
Gene
thing
Simmons.
that ever happened. Oh God, yes. Oh, I hope it's like that Danzig movie. The wildest thing that he ever did was when they announced they were doing a new Exorcist, and that was a big deal at the time. Now they just do things like that, but it was like in the 2000s, and he directed that, where they originally had one director, and then they fired that director and got Rennie Harlan. They're just like, throw Rennie Harlan in that. That's fucking wild to me. But yeah, this I don't know.
Sure. It's the most Gene Simmons thing that you could do.
Yeah,
Is make a shark movie with Rennie Harlan in 2023.
yeah.
Isn't
Again,
Gene
I mean-
Simmons, doesn't he occasionally pop up to express some right-wing beliefs, or am I thinking of someone else? Like, isn't he anti-vax or something like that, or hasn't
I don't
he
know.
ranted about the woke takeover of? I
Sounds like something he
if-
would do.
If Gene Simmons is listening to this and I've confused you with another aging rock star, I apologize. But
I feel bad because it's like, yeah, that sounds like something he'd do, but I can't confirm or
I don't
deny
know.
that's
Yeah,
the case.
Genuinely don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna watch this movie.
Yeah.
There's he made that movie Skip Trace starring Johnny Knoxville and Jackie Chan.
Yeah. Which
How have I not seen that
we need to
movie?
watch. How did both of them get out of that movie alive?
Right. And also, there's an era where that would be one of the greatest action movies ever. It'd be Johnny Knoxville kicking himself in the balls while Jackie Chan jumps on a train. It's like
Right.
just two very different stunt performers.
Yeah.
That sounds fun as hell.
Yeah, directed by one of the, as Jays was pointing out, one of the biggest action directors of like 3 decades ago.
Right. Like, that should be good, but I've never heard a peep about it.
I don't know. Maybe we'll have to watch it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
will.
that's that story.
Yeah. All right. Should we name some more producers?
We should.
Big thank you to Norm from Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to Pete Forpagel.
Thank you.
Thank you to Numenal Ultramicroscopic Silico Volcanoconiosis Anti-Disestablishmentarianism Jones.
Thank
you. Thank you to pre-order TikTok superstar Jason Pargin's new book, Zoe is Too Drunk for This Dystopia. Pre-orders are super important.
Thank
you. Thank you to RevMD. Thank you to Ricky Cilantro.
Thank you.
Thank you to Rosemary's Baby from Eraserhead.
Thank you.
Thank you to Screaming Horse Pyramid.
Thank you so much.
Thank you to Sorry Cop, world's most laughable centrist.
Thank you.
Thank you to Steven.
Thank you.
Thank you to the conveniently placed self-destruct button on the top of every baby's head.
Thank you so much. All right, let me swoop in here. Thank you to the Midnight Patron with patrons at midnight.
Thank you.
Thank you to the Oatmeal Savage.
Thank you.
Thank you to the 2B Terror Bunny says, thank you for watching Dead Heat.
Thank you.
Thank you
You're
to
welcome.
These 7 Bs.
Thank you.
Thank you to Tiger George Pratt Thompson. Raindrops keep falling on my head.
Thank you.
Thank you to Tip Drizzle.
Thank you.
Thank you to Tux.
Tux.
Thank you to Vincent with a Y.
Thank you.
Thank you to Why Don't You Take a Flying Fuck at the Moon.
Thank you.
Thank you to Your Mom.
Thank you.
And thank you to Zzz, because Pie Guy liked being last.
Thanks.
Oh, thank you all. Dave,
All heroes.
we've reached the end of the road.
We sure have.
Still, I can't let go. So I want you to level with me.
Okay.
And let me know if you have a movie that deserves more hype.
Yeah, I think I do. I think I do.
Good luck.
To quote John Wick, yeah. This is called Medusa Deluxe. This is coming out this year, around, I guess, the time Indiana Jones is coming out. This is coming out June 15th, 2023. I think it has a limited, I think it's streaming in the UK first or something. So don't get enraged if you don't see it right away. Tom, you kind of summed it up in your note, which I'm just going to say. It's Gosford Park at a hairstyling competition.
Yeah.
This is a murder mystery at a hairstyling competition filled with very loud, flamboyant characters. The thing that seems to be popping up is that it's kind of shot. I don't think it's the entire thing is made to look like a continuous shot, but it's shot. It seems like, and you can kind of tell in the trailer, very like Birdman-like, where it's these very tight spaces, and I think this is part of the mystery, and it's a lot of like oneers just weaving through these spaces as people are running around room to room, trying to figure out this murder where a person was apparently scalped and killed. And then there's just like all this other drama between these people just interwoven with it. So like it again, the reviews are like talking about how it's this like it blasts you with like information and visuals, and it all kind of untangles it by the end. And it just looks like a really interesting dynamic film, especially based on this trailer. What did you guys think of this?
I was really into this trailer.
I bet there's somebody listening to this right now where this movie will be their favorite movie of all time. Mm-hmm. It has that look of a cult, like the subject matter and tone is not going to be a blockbuster, but this will be the movie they watch a dozen times, and there'll be all these moments they quote from it and all that. So there's a certain type of person who this movie is absolutely for, and it looks like it is beautifully made and has its own energy. Also, the trailer you've linked here has 2,500 views.
Wow. Yeah, that's not enough.
It's extremely British, if that speaks to anyone.
Oh yeah.
It really looks great. And like, yeah, to jump off what Jason was saying, this 100% looks like this would have been one of my favorite movies in high school if I saw it then. Or like in my early 20s, I would have been obsessed with a movie like this.
Yeah, For sure.
Yeah.
I can see that.
It looks like a lot of fun. It looks really funny. It looks well made. It's a fun idea. All of the I'm not familiar with any of the actors, but they all seem great in the trailer. I'm super into this.
Yeah, it just definitely check out the trailer to get a feel for it. By the way, the cinematographer has a gigantic IMDb, and in fact did The Favorite. That was from the director of The Lobster. That's another movie that had very good cinematography in it. This is just, I don't know, it looks beautiful. If nothing else. Oh, they also did Marriage Story. That's weird. It's a very talented cinematographer doing what looks like a really fun story. Medusa Deluxe. Check it out. 100%. I'm very excited to watch this movie.
Yeah, hell yeah. Check it out.
Yeah.
I think we did it. I think we've done it. I think that's a sode.
We did a sode.
We did. Oh,
nice.
Man. Hooray for us.
Yeah, nice tight 145. We did it.
Congratulations.
Short for one of mine. Yeah.
Yeah, this is short for a Jason episode.
Oh yeah. Oh, Jason, thank you so much for being
thank you so much for doing the show.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
You want to tell everybody one more time?
Want to hit your plugs again?
What you got going on?
The book is called Zoe is Too Drunk for This Dystopia. It is up for pre-order everywhere in all formats, audio, whatever, however you want it. As the Patreon says, the pre-orders matter because it's how you signal demand to the bookstore. So how many pre-orders I can gin up determines how many copies they buy, and that literally determines how many copies they sell, because people will buy whatever there is a lot of. Because when there are physically a lot of a book on a shelf, they are more visible. So people see it because they've got a lot of these. It must be a big deal.
Yep.
And then they buy it. So the first challenge with the releasing a book is always trying to get them to stock a bunch of it. And I am not a big enough deal that I can take that for granted. I go book to book. And the reason I survive as a writer is because I am very good at drumming up pre-orders, because I am relentless.
This is your thing.
Otherwise, if you want to follow me on social media for free, I'm Jason K. Pargin everywhere. At Twitter and Instagram and all of the others. And TikTok is the biggest one. So thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
I guess I will tell people about our Patreon, patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed, GAMEFULLY, unemployed. We have exclusive podcasts on there like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and Spiel Boys. You can get all of those for $5 a month. Just $5 a month, and you get 4 extra podcasts series that happen at least monthly, sometimes twice a month, sometimes once a week. We also watch movies with our patrons every Friday. We've watched, movies.
A lot of great films.
A lot of great films like Heart Beeps, starring Andy Kaufman. That was a recent one. And other things,
Space
like
Truckers.
That.
Yeah.
And perhaps better things too. Join us. We'll be doing that tonight.
We will.
When this comes out.
We will. We also have a store. Head over to gamefullyunemployed.com where you can find a link to our Teespring store where we have all kinds of cool original artwork and designs you can get on t-shirts, mugs, stickers, posters, all sorts of things. So check that out.
Yeah. Do it.
Yep. Do it.
Yes. Yes, sirree.
All right. That's enough. We can be done. Say goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye,
everyone.
Our music is produced by Chris Corlew. You You can follow him on Twitter at @thecorlew, CORLEW, and find more music at shipwreckedsailor.bandcamp.com. Our channel artwork is produced by Michael Vincent Bramley. You can find more of his artwork at instagram.com/mvbramleyart. Our episode artwork is produced by Justin Brown. You can follow him on Twitter at @JustinTBrown and find more of his artwork at artnessbyjustinbrown.com and justinbrown.info.